Three, two, one. What's going on, folks? Welcome to 34 Questions. I'm your host, 34, and tonight we have Kathleen Damian in the building. How are you doing tonight, Kathleen?
Hi, Jan. I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing great, doing great. Happy Monday. I know it's not everyone's favorite day of the week, but I hope yours is going well so far.
Yes, Mondays always are. I think Mondays are a good way to start. But technically, some people see Sunday as their beginning of the week, which is interesting as well.
I feel you.
And there was quite a bit of hail today in the weather, so it was really interesting.
I got you. You're based in the Bay Area, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, hail is definitely rare for us. So, and every time it happens, it's like a spectacle sometimes. But yeah. For the folks out there who are unfamiliar with the flow of the show, we typically do a warm-up first, and then we'll jump into an icebreaker to cool things down. After that, we'll turn to the twist of the interview, which is the Wheel of Fate. And then after all that, we'll head to some closeout questions. Sound good to you, Kathleen?
Yep, absolutely.
For sure. So before we go into the warm-up, my first question, and I know I kind of asked you already, but how are you? You doing well? You doing great? How you been lately?
That's a very nice question to start with.
For sure.
I've been doing quite well. It's already almost March, which is crazy to me. It's already 3 months into 2023. Wow.
Yeah, no, for real.
But it's been going. I've been working full time, and in between working, I've just been doing some performances on the weekends or whenever throughout the week in between my 9 to 5 job. And I think in general, like, life has been pretty busy with events, just birthdays and just personal social outings, and yeah, there's just been a lot going on, keeping me busy, and I wish I did have more time to rest, but trying to make that more of a priority.
I got you. Yeah, busy is good. I think my first impression of you was as a singer, right? And then you gave me some more information this morning about, being a project manager. Is that correct?
Yes.
So, I feel like I'm in a similar boat where I have a daytime profession, but also am, working on my passions outside of work. How do you balance that for yourself as far as, having your 9 to 5 and also pursuing music?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard to balance, as you know, as a creative, like, things just happen on a whim and it can get pretty crazy pretty fast. So I'm just really lucky that my job allows me to work from home and is very flexible. So I'm just really lucky in that aspect where I can choose to do, have my gigs on the side, or even just be available for events, in between the week, whether that's like on a weekend or sometimes like on a weekday. I do try to plan ahead, so I block off time on my calendar and just make sure that, if I have any important meetings coming up, that I do prepare ahead of time so that I'm not bombarded with, an excessive amount of things that I have to prepare, in addition to just practicing and rehearsing my set with the people that I'm going to be performing with, which is usually someone who plays guitar or piano, because I unfortunately can't play any instruments myself. But yeah, it's just all in balance and just making sure that I have capacity, like, to be present and really give myself the full energy that I want to give during my performances.
I got you. Yeah, I think balance is super key, and just time management, and that's something I'm still working on, something new for me, but I got you. Well, for sure, I do want to ask you more about music, but I'll save that for later on in the interview. We'll move on to the warm-up. Excuse me. And my first question for you in the warm-up is, what would you like the audience to know about you?
I would like the audience to know that I am a multifaceted person. I like like I mentioned earlier, I'm into a lot of music, but I'm also involved in the community as well. I really like to just put myself out there and really kind of understand, the things that are happening locally in our community, and really meet people from like all walks of life, like whether you're a creative or a photographer or an activist or whatnot, what have you. I really try to really connect with folks and really learn about them. So I kind of intertwine or integrate a lot of what I do as a creative. Just I just try to connect it to what I do, like whether it's my work. I just try to connect all of that back into who I am as a person. So everything that I do, I try to make it aligned with who I am as a person. And although I am very introverted, I do have to kind of put more energy into obviously putting myself out there, whether that's like marketing or just like participating in events and volunteering to be a host or even an ambassador for certain things. I feel like I have to find the courage and just really throw myself out there, to really learn and grow as someone who is more on the reserve side. So I really try to do my best to do that, but I also try to do that authentically whenever I can as well.
Got you. I know that must be tough for introverts. I mean, I didn't realize I was an introvert until recently, or like my whole life. I took personality quizzes, and I
Right.
always ended up being an extrovert on those. But I will admit that sometimes when I answer those things, like I think it's true for most people, but you try to answer who you want to be or who you think you are.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I always thought I was a person who was extroverted, but after receiving feedback from friends and family, they're like, nah, you're 100% introverted. And I was like, for real? Like this whole time I thought I was something else.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I got you. So being involved in the community as you are and being introverted, I can only imagine, because I think that's one of the big reasons why I haven't gotten involved as much, is because I'd rather be at home and trying to like help
Yeah.
out from from my room. But yeah, I need to put
Yeah, I
myself
mean,
out
you
there
could
more.
still do a lot from home. Like that's the beauty of it, is you can do so much in the comfort of your own home now. Like that's an advantage that we have over, those in the past. Like they totally had to like do everything in person. Like, if you wanted to listen to someone's music, they would have physical mixtapes, and now
Mm.
you can just send it with a link. So it's crazy how we take that for granted sometimes.
For sure, for sure. I mean, I don't want to age you out, but for myself, I am turning 33 this year, so I remember burning CDs and trying to pass them out on the streets, and it was very different from just sending a link to somebody. But yeah,
Right.
I wanted to also ask about your community work, and what do you think is probably like one of the bigger issues that you've had to work on or been involved with, as far as like working with the community?
So to clarify, like you're asking what is the biggest obstacle that I've had to do, or are you saying like what is the most like hot topic or maybe controversial thing that I've tried to like bring more awareness to?
I mean, what I mean is, right now, currently, as you're in touch with the community more, what are like some of the issues, or you could just speak on one issue that you feel like
Mhm.
is most, I guess, trying to figure out the right word for it, but something that we should address more, or, kind of like work towards a little bit, I guess, more for everyone else who isn't doing anything for the community right now.
Gotcha. I think one of the biggest issues is definitely like equality and the Stop Asian Hate. I mean, it's not just within, the Asian community. Of course, it's for any minority. It's just very hard. It's very hard to, make it very like easy to understand for those who are not in the minority group. I feel like it's very difficult as a person of color or just in any minority group to bring about, the issues that are at hand. But most of the time, obviously, it's not due to the people, but it's due to the systems that are set up. So it's very hard and very difficult to advocate for that position and stance when others already have their preconceived, opinions on certain things, and it's very hard for them to change their position on what they believe is right. So I think that's one of the biggest issues that we have, at least, in present day. And I mean, we do have a lot of improvements, I would say, at least where the youth are actually really strong advocates and are actually speaking out and attending these events, even setting up the events, and taking that initiative. So I give props to a lot of the folks who are actually doing the active work to help, empower and have our voices be heard in those types of issues. And it's very difficult, but again, what we need to do is unite instead of divide. And I think that we do have the potential to do that. It's going to take a lot more work and a lot more community to do that.
For sure. And as far as like the conversation around these issues, you feel like in your experience, people have been open to just talking about it versus, being really shut down about it, like, no, I don't want to hear what you have to say. Yeah. How do you feel that experience has been?
At least for me, in my personal experience, I think people are a lot more receptive to it than in the past. Like, for example, like even when I just bring it up with like my parents, I feel like they're a lot more willing to listen, especially when I say that, this is something important, like this is affecting the people in our future generations. So I think that people are actually a lot more open to bringing the topic about and really just engaging in these types of conversations than we were in the past. So I think that's definitely a win.
I got you. Shout out to your folks, because not every like generation or older generations are open to new ideas, right? Some of them are very...
Right. It's really hard.
No, I got you. Well, thank you for sharing. We'll move on.
Absolutely.
Move on to the second question in the warm-up, which is, how would you like to be honored? So to frame this question, it's sort of like if you were to move away, right? And your family or friends were like, oh, we want to do something for your birthday in respect to Kathleen. What would you ask them to do?
I think, well, one of the very first things that comes out is I would love them to try to do some type of fundraiser and dedicate that to a specific cause. And I did do something like that recently for my birthday with the previous guest, Kyle DeCarlos.
That's what's up.
And so in that similar route, I would really love my family, my friends, my loved ones to throw an event and just make sure that we're able to have like performers or just anything that can help celebrate and give back to a certain cause, whether it's like mental health advocacy, which is one of the things that I really try to advocate for, or just like giving back to those in need. I feel like doing a fundraiser or a benefit show or something like that would be how I'd like to be honored in the future.
I got you. Is there a specific org or cause that you would really want them to know? Be like, this is the one.
That's hard. I mean, there's a lot of really good ones out there, but again, because mental health is something that I hold dear to my heart, it would be the Filipino Mental Health Initiative of San Francisco, which I have fundraised for in the past.
I got you. For sure. Now we know. And my last question for you in the warm-up is, on a scale from 1 to 10, how well do you know yourself?
I would say, at least at this point in my life, I would probably give it a 6, just because, I'm still in my late 20s, so there is still a lot for me to experience at this point in my life and a lot to learn. And I continue to evolve and learn about myself as the years go by. And it's crazy because I reflect on the things that I've been able to do thus far, just like in the past year, and it's crazy to me how much I have grown when you really like look back at it, but you don't realize it when it's happening. But all the way from like my childhood through high school, through college, and then now just like navigating this world as an adult, it's been very humbling. Just trying to unlearn a lot of the things that I have like trauma and just like relationships, and just trying to figure out really like who am I at the root. It's been a journey, definitely. But I would definitely say I have grown, throughout those years so far, but I look forward to seeing how I evolve in the next 10, 20 years as even more an adult.
I got you. What would you say when was the last time you surprised yourself? Where you're like, oh snap, I can do that? Or like, that's me now? Yeah, do you have an example of that?
I guess where one of the pivotal moments was just like sometime last year. I was finally able to purchase my own home with my mom. So I'm just very blessed because me and my mom, she's a single mother. So it's been like, we would always live in an apartment for like every year, like we would move to a new apartment. So, it's been it's just such a blessing that we have our own place now. Like I don't have to worry about, oh man, like I don't have to move all of these things every year. Like it's very tiring, especially when like you're on like a third floor or something and there's no elevator. But I think that was one of the pivotal moments where I was like, wow, like we have come so far. Like I'm doing big girl things now. I'm able to work. I'm able to just support myself financially, and I'm able to make these decisions and just really go for things that I don't think I would have been able to do, or things this would have not have been imaginable at like when I was a kid. Like I would not have seen myself in this position at this point in my life already. Like it's really crazy. It's incredible.
I got you. And congratulations. That's a crazy milestone.
Thank you.
That's something I'm working on, to be honest. I am in the apartment with my parents still right now.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to make that dream happen. But yeah, you mentioned this is not where your younger self would have seen yourself at this point in life. Do you remember what you had thought you would be at this point as a young one?
Oh man. Like as a kid, I feel like, or when I would write in my diary back then in elementary school, I would probably think that at this point in my life I would be married, I would have kids, the whole American dream type of situation.
I got you.
But now, like putting just everything in perspective, I don't think that there is a specific timeline to do all of that. And it's just, if it happens, it happens. So I'm not really in that type of mindset anymore where like, oh, I have to achieve this type of goal by this time because this is what society has deemed is normal. Like I've learned to like let go of that kind of mindset and just really try to appreciate, what is happening right now in the present, and kind of, try to build my goals off of where I am now and like what I think is going to be feasible for me or realistic, like in the next year or two, instead of like 10 to 20 years from now, because things will change. And I have learned that there will be curveballs. So no matter how much you plan, it's always going to go another way sometimes. So I've learned how to kind of expect that in life.
I hear you. Yeah, no, I got you. Yeah, the American dream for sure. I thought I would have been retired by 35, which is back in the day.
I wish too.
Yeah,
That would have been nice.
yeah, for real. A part of me thinks the American dream has changed for this new generation, right? I think maybe back when we were younger, it was settling down at this time. But
Right.
I don't think I work with high school kids, and I don't think high schoolers want to settle down anymore, or they want to have
No.
adventures. Yeah.
They want to travel. They want to do all the things.
Exactly. And I think the dream as far as occupation is probably the YouTuber kind of person, or some kind of influencer where you're getting paid to just live your life and have fun
Yeah.
sometimes.
That'd be
Which-
nice.
For any kids listening, it's gonna be tough to hit that reality if it doesn't work out. But nah, I got you. Well, thank you, Kathleen. And at this point, we're gonna jump into the icebreaker. So for this icebreaker, you will have 34 seconds to either do a this or that or a word association. Which one do you feel like you're feeling more? A this or that or word association?
I think this or that.
Okay, I got you. And then just a heads up, I will follow up with a couple of your answers. All right.
Sounds good.
Here we go. In 3, 2, 1. Night or morning?
Night.
Regret or doubt?
Doubt.
Pause time or rewind time?
Pause time.
Underestimated or overestimated?
Overestimate.
Education or experience?
Experience.
Growth or security?
Growth.
Show or tell?
Show.
Be embarrassed or be afraid?
Be embarrassed.
Gotcha. For sure. And the ones I want to follow up with is, first you said for pause time or rewind time, you said pause time. Why did you lean towards pause time?
I lean towards pausing time because I feel like when you're in a moment that you want to kind of sit in more, like for example, like if you go to a concert and you really want to stay in that moment for a second and just like, wow, like this one was my favorite song, and this one really resonated with me. I'd like to pause that just so I could sit with it a little bit longer and just really like go through all my emotions and feel what I'm feeling at that moment of time. Whereas if you rewind time, I feel like, I don't know, the time has already passed, so I don't want to focus on what has already happened, but I want to focus more on what's happening now, if that makes sense.
No, that does make sense. And if the movies of time travel taught me anything, is that if you go back in time, you're gonna mess up everything when you come back. So no, you're right. I didn't think
The
about
whole
it.
timeline.
Yeah, exactly. And okay, so you had mentioned maybe at a concert where there's a song that you wanted to just pause time in. Was there an experience like that for you? Like maybe a favorite concert where a song was just hitting different? Is there one that comes to mind, or is that too much to think about?
I mean, the one that really stands out to me was I went to a Hillsong concert back in college during my college days, and the one worship song called Oceans, I don't know if you're familiar with it, but it's a popular worship song that just the lyrics just really like hit me like a flood. So
Gotcha.
whenever I sing that, like the bridge, it just builds, the intensity just builds as the song goes on. Sometimes it just makes me want to cry.
I got you. No, I know
feel
what you
like
mean.
that one was one of my memorable concerts or shows. But I mean, I'm pretty sure there's more. I've just been to way too many concerts that I can remember right now.
I feel you. You said it was called Oceans?
Yes, Oceans.
All right. Just so I know to look it up later. And you said for be embarrassed or be afraid. What was your answer again?
Be embarrassed.
Well, why be embarrassed?
I feel like embarrassment is just something that everybody goes through. And like, I feel like if you can't laugh about something that you did in that moment, like, you're just taking yourself too seriously. Like, it's okay to be embarrassed. It's okay to make mistakes. I mean, everybody has that. Like, everybody has that moment where they're embarrassed. But I feel like being embarrassed is something I'd rather experience rather than being afraid, because fear is something that prevents you from doing something. And I don't want to, live in fear. So I'd rather be embarrassed.
I feel you. I'm working on that for sure. I think being embarrassed is something you just gotta get used to, especially if you've been avoiding it a lot in your life, where you're not used to the feeling. But once you get used to the feeling, it's like, okay, it's not the end of the world. It's not as scary as I thought it'd be.
Right. It takes a while to get used to. Like, everybody is, of course, scared of being vulnerable or making that, like, little mistake or making a fool out of yourself. But once you do it, it's like, like, you can get over it. Like, it's funny to laugh at.
I hear you. Do you still get stage fright or not? That's something you're
always.
Always?
I always get stage fright, and I still make mistakes, no matter how many times I perform. Like, I forget lyrics. That's one of my biggest weaknesses as a performer, is I forget and stress about lyrics all the time.
I used to write, my first dream was to be a rapper, and I could never remember my lyrics, and it kind of sucked. Because people would always be like, "Oh, freestyle right now," and I'd be like, oh, I can't. Like, I gotta pull out my phone, look at my notes, and yeah. So I never came easy to me.
That's normal.
I'll be jealous though.
You can still be a rapper.
I'm trying, very low key, but yeah, maybe I'll be known as the podcaster that raps versus the rapper that podcasts. I'm not sure. But not for sure.
I'm all for it.
I appreciate it. One day, if I ever do, am able to have a studio, I do want to bring all my musical guests come through, just so, like, fundraiser-ish or something where, like, I can put people on or give them a stage to just perform. So keep that in mind if you do enjoy the vibe.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. All right. Well, we made it to the twist of the interview, which is the Wheel of Fate. And then
Whoa.
thank you for that. And it looks like it's not popping up, so that's very unfortunate. Let me see if I can figure this part out.
Oh no. Technical difficulties.
It's the worst. I just gotta work through it if it works or not. But if it doesn't,
you got
this. You see it though, right? Like, it pops up and then just disappears like that.
Yeah, very odd.
It's all good. I will try one more time, and I hope
Let's go.
It looks like we're gonna have to shut down the wheel, like the physical wheel, but I will still spin it, and I'll let you know what number you get. So let me go do that.
Sounds good.
All right. So it's spinning, and your first number is number 8. So I feel like, did you get a chance to look at the questions before coming on today?
I didn't, because I wanted to be surprised.
Okay, for sure. So these are pretty deep, I would consider them. And if there's anyone that's too deep or something you don't want to talk about, feel free to pass, and I'll just give it another spin. But this one is, have you ever hit rock bottom? And what kind of led you to that place, if you don't mind sharing? And how did it feel to get out of it?
I've definitely hit rock bottom, a couple times in my life, especially just, as I got older. I felt like, because there's just a lot that you feel like you have pressure to do, right? So I feel like one of the times that I've experienced rock bottom was definitely after high school, and just going into college. I felt like there was just a lot of decisions, like, what school do I go to and all of that. So at the time, like senior year of high school, I felt like, man, like why didn't I get to this certain school?
Mm.
It was my dream school, and I felt like, man, like I should have done more. And then, along with my own self doubt of just like not making it into my dream school, like you add, your parents,
Expectations.
their expectations on like, oh, like you didn't get into that school, like that's not good enough. So all of that kind of stuff, before going into the college that I ended up at, like I felt like I wasn't at the point in my life where like I thought I wouldn't be able to succeed, or just like do good with the options that I had at that time. And I didn't really have access or resources to mental health at that time, so I had a lot of very just like suicidal thoughts, but I never acted upon it. But the thing that really helped me get out of that, along with, of course, like support from my family and my friends at the time, was just a lot of prayer. And I was very spiritual at that time, went to church a lot. And I felt like during one of my breakdowns where I was just in my room crying in the middle of the night, I just felt like I heard, some like voice just telling me like, you're doing, the best that you can. And like, regardless of, the expectations that are placed on you, like you deserve to be here. Like you're here on this earth for a purpose. So I think that those conversations and just being strong in my faith really helped me get out of that dark place at that time. And I wouldn't have changed it, because it really it helped me just really dig deeper with my faith, but as well as just really learn more about how I deal with my mental health, which is just like I really learned that I need to not bottle everything up, because it's not healthy at all. It's not healthy to isolate and keep these feelings to myself. So I definitely talked it out with some friends, and had that support system. And that's when I also went back into journaling, which is something that really helped me reflect on my thoughts and just everything that goes on in my mind and my head. And writing it out really was a great way for me to release, things that were happening in my head.
No, I got you. In a way, when I was writing music too, it felt like that was my journaling expression. It's not so much like I tried, even to this day I try to journal, and I'm never consistent. Someone says you don't have to be. It's like really when you need it, then you should turn to it. But for you, has music been a way to kind of help with that expression, or do you kind of keep those two realms separate, and you have different personas for each?
I would say right now they're kind of separate. Like I haven't really been able to channel like my writing into music just yet, which is probably one of my areas of improvement for me as a musician. Like I'm probably not ready to be that vulnerable when it comes to like making my music into my story. But that is one of the things that I would like to work on and improve on as a musician. Like I really do want to get my music out, my original music, but be able to really share my story and about all my experiences and who I am as a person. I feel like that's one of the things that's missing about my music, is I haven't been able to put that out there yet, but hopefully soon.
You'll definitely get there, and I think the results are gonna maybe surprise you again. It just turns out to be like some of your best stuff. And then you talked about having that support system with friends and family. Uh,
Hmm.
I love my friends and my homies. Y'all know that. It is still difficult for me to open up fully, I would say, or like
Yeah, no,
really
I get
talk about
it.
it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
was there a way, how did you break down that if you had to, or was it all good
Hmm.
with your friends first, or did you kind of have to address it and be like, hey y'all, I need help, and can y'all just listen to me without like trying to, I wouldn't say be judgmental, but without
Hmm.
without changing the way you see me. I feel like that's what
Yeah.
is my mind. Like if I say all these things, they're gonna look at me differently, and I don't want that. But yeah, how was your experience with that?
Right. Yeah, I think for me, like even just reaching out and like bringing it up was something very difficult in the beginning. Like, it's not something that I would normally have done. Like, when I was, at that age, I feel like I would have been really scared to just even initiate the conversation and reach out. But, luckily for me, like with the group of friends that I was able to share that with, like they were always they were willing to listen and just really be there to support me, like not having to really like give me advice, but just know that I just wanted to have a way to express like everything that I was feeling, and just have all my thoughts heard like out loud, and just for them to have a listening ear, like that really helped. And I feel like yeah, they were very supportive in that way, just being there to listen to my venting and what have you, and not really have to offer solutions, but I mean, they did anyways.
I got you.
So they were able to kind of walk me through like what am I thinking, like what's happening, like how can we help you, and things like that.
For sure, for sure. Shout out to the homies as well. Uh, I think I'll give the wheel another spin, and I'll let you know. Thank you for sharing, though. I know it's not always easy to talk about these
Yeah.
things. Uh, Number 14 is, how could you be kinder to yourself?
Oh man. I could be kinder to myself in a lot of ways, because as you know, like as a creative, as a Filipino American, second generation, that's, I'm second generation Filipino. Um, like, I just feel like I criticize myself all the time. And
Mm,
I feel like I hold myself up to such a standard where, like, I feel like I can't even start something because I want it to be like that good. So I feel like in that way, I definitely need to be more lenient and like be more accepting, and be more um, or be willing to give myself more grace for the things that I'm doing. Like, I don't give myself a lot of credit for what I do um, on a day-to-day basis, and I feel like it's because of the imposter syndrome that I have. It's just where my mind is naturally, just because
mm,
I always feel like I have to do things a certain way or make it sound a certain way, like when it comes to my music, which is also one of the things that I'm working on. Like I always have so many takes, and then when it comes to like picking the best one, it's like I could have done better. So I feel like my imperfection is something that I need to give myself more grace for. I don't. Did that answer the question?
no, no, you definitely did. You definitely did.
Okay.
Um, nah, I hear you. I think, yeah. Do you ever have those moments when like maybe you share songs with friends and family and you just can't be in the room, or like you have to be like, oh, listen to this, and
Yeah.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
It is hard. It is hard. Uh, and for this inner critic that you have, right? Um, how far back do you think that kind of developed for you? Like, is there a time or age where you just started being aware and started like kind of second guessing yourself? I can speak from my experience. I think that
Mhm.
voice started around 12 years old. For some
Oh
reason,
wow.
I think 11 and younger was all like, sunshine and rainbows for me. And then for some reason at 12, things had just shifted and I started to be really aware of like, why am I here and what's my purpose in life? So for you, when do you feel like that voice kind of just started to appear?
I mean, it's possible that it did start somewhere in elementary school as well for me, just because I had so much inner monologue, like, and just being active with writing it in my diary kind of served as a purpose for me to like be free to express myself and like my thoughts openly. So I feel like I did read it like a couple of years ago, and I was like shook by like, wow, like I was very coherent at a young age. Like the things that I would talk about or write about were things that I didn't expect like elementary school me would even be able to do. So I think also, yeah, I would agree and say it was at a pretty young age for me, like where I was self-aware and like realized, man, I second guess myself. Like even on tests and exams, like I always second guess myself and change my answer. I'm like, man, why did I change that last minute?
I definitely take an essay over multiple choice every time because I feel like I would mess up less.
I always would take a free form over multiple choice because you can explain yourself, you can argue you can support your answers, but in multiple choice there's only one answer. I hate it.
And it could be A, it could be B,
right?
It could be C, depending on how you perceive the question. And,
right.
For sure. You mentioned inner monologue, right? And I don't know, I feel like it happens, people listen to it more as they get older. That's what I want to believe, but I think there are still people who don't have one, and I'm pretty jealous of them.
Yeah, like I was on Twitter and like I saw something, about the same topic that we just mentioned, and it's crazy to me that some people don't have that inner voice when they're reading something. It's like, what? It's silent? Like, how does that's crazy to me, but very interesting that some people cannot hear like their own voice or other people's voices when they read something. Because for me, like when I read like my friends' texts or something, like I always hear it in their voice and like their laugh, like how they would react to it. So it's very interesting that some people cannot hear their own voice or even see visually like things when they think about something, like, oh yeah, think of an apple that's red. Like for some people they can't do that, and that's very interesting.
yeah, I wish for any folks who do think that way, if you want to talk about it, I'm curious about it as well. I think I attribute that stuff, for me, is I grew up as an only child, and I felt like,
oh yeah, me too.
So
only child.
all those like just alone time, I think that's where that voice kind of developed, right? Right. So yeah, all the only children out there, that's gang right there for sure. We all kind of understand that.
Yes.
But yeah, no, it is a trip. And I had another point, but I forgot, so we'll move on.
Good.
We'll move on to that. And one more spin. I think we got time for one more. We have about 15 minutes left in the interview, and I just want to thank you again for making time for this. I hope you're having fun.
Thank you also.
For sure. I have number 33 for you, and number 33 is, what do you miss? Is there anything? It doesn't have to be a person. It could be, just something that you miss from childhood, or it doesn't have to be childhood. You know what I mean? But is there anything that you miss right now?
One of the things that comes to mind is I just miss the carefree aspect of just being a kid and just doing things on a whim and just not really having to think about the things that you want to do. You just do it and don't really think about it. And I feel like that's something that I wish I could do a lot more now, instead of just like having so much anxiety and stress over trying to decide whether to do something or not, and just do it. Like if it brings you joy, just do it, as long as it doesn't hurt anybody, of course. But I feel like that's a mindset that I miss, just as a child, just being so carefree and innocent. And yeah.
No, for sure. I work with a lot of kids with the, I don't give a fuck attitude,
Yeah.
and I'm just like, I wish I could be like that again. Like
Right? Or
I have
even
to
just
care. But,
like their honesty. It's crazy. It's funny.
oh, they are so blunt, and yeah,
Yeah.
they have me laughing all day. It's really a blessing just to hear them speak the truth.
Right.
Very curious too, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know how like little kids, like young kids, they'll ask you why every time.
Yeah.
And then but these, I guess, teenagers, they'll ask me why, but they'll really listen to like what I'm gonna say, because if I don't say the right thing, they're gonna challenge me and to be like, oh no, you're wrong, or you said this yesterday, now you're switching up on me, you're so
no,
so you're fake. And I'm like, it's not like that. But no, I got you. I do miss that too. And although I won't necessarily frame it as being carefree, I just feel like what they're worried about is, and I'm not trying to downplay what they worry about, but it is, more kid stuff than it is adulting. And once you're once you're worrying about adulting, then I feel like we will connect on a much more deeper level. But yeah, I got you. All right, well, we made it to the closeout questions, but before that, there's one more exercise I would like to present to you. It's called the 34th mantra, right? So gotta close your eyes for this one.
okay.
All right, so you're closing your eyes. Imagine that you are in the forest, right? You're just walking along. You find yourself deep in the middle of the forest, and you just have this urge to just, yell, pretty much. You want to scream, you want to yell. And I have this phrase for you, which is I am, I can, I will. So I am blank, I can blank, I will blank. Think about how you would answer that as you're in the forest and you're about to yell it out. And whenever you're ready, feel free to open your eyes. All right. So here you are in the forest. Feel free to tell us who you are, what you can do, gonna do.
I don't have to yell, right?
No, you don't have to yell. Okay. That was just for the imagination.
Got it. All right. So the first one, I'd say I am strong. I can succeed, and I will thrive.
Sure. I got you. And if you ever need a reminder, you have this audio clip of yourself just telling you exactly who you are, what you're gonna do, what you can do. But yeah, thank you for participating.
Thanks.
So here we go with the closeout questions. My first closeout question for you is from my previous guest. So shout out to Mia. Mia's question for you is, what is one food that takes you back to a wholesome childhood memory?
Ooh, food that brings me back to a wholesome childhood memory. I'm trying to think.
Take your time.
The first thing that comes to mind, I would say, is very random. It's the McDonald's Big Breakfast, the deluxe one.
I feel you.
Yeah.
Why is that?
And when I was younger, no, I froze. Am I back?
You're back. Oh, I hear you. You're good. Ooh.
Okay, there we go. I keep freezing on my...
A little bit. I hear you. I was gonna see, maybe give it like 5 seconds. Just let's count to 5 and
I'm like
maybe.
Freezing though.
I got you. Oh no.
Oh. We're almost at the end. Why are you doing?
One, two. You hear me?
Oh man. I can hear you.
You want to just try to hop out of the room and hop back in? It's up to you. We don't gotta. All right.
Is it working?
I think you're good. I think you're good. But
okay.
McDonald's Big Breakfast Deluxe.
Yes.
Why that came to mind?
I think when I was in elementary school, I would always leave very early because my parents would have to go to work. So I'd always get to school like super early, like maybe 30 minutes. So I would just, I think I would go to McDonald's with, my dad or my mom. I'd order it and then I would eat it in the car, just like in the parking lot of school before I went off on campus. And yeah, I just remember that very distinctly. Like McDonald's was my go-to throughout elementary through high school because it was just very close to my school, and I would just go there for my go-to snack or meal.
I got you. When's the last time you had that deluxe breakfast?
I actually don't remember.
Probably been a minute. I feel you. I know I used to have it all the time too. So, and I just, when you brought it up, I was like, damn, I haven't had it in a long time. But I got you for sure. And second to last question is, what would you like to ask the next guest that comes on to 34 questions?
Yes. This question comes from actually one of my friends who has monthly journaling prompts that she creates on her own. Her name is Bink, so shout out to you, Bink. And the question that I wanted to share was, if there was one trait of yours that could be seen as a positive and a negative, what would that trait be? And please explain.
For sure. I am writing this down. If there was one trait of yours that could be seen as a negative and a positive, right?
Yes. So it has to be both. But it's only one trait.
I got you. This is interesting. I do like taking this. I like answering this last question. So give me a second to reflect.
Yeah, of course. It's a hard question. It stumped me when my friend asked me that. It was the first question during that month, which was November. And it took me a while to figure out my answer.
I got you. And this is just me off the top of my head. And maybe it's because I've been thinking about it a little bit more lately. So I'm the kind of person who wants to, kind of dedicate my life to the world, right? Like I want to work with kids in the morning and talk to people and interview them at night. And I hope I can build something in the future that really is in service of the community and the people in the world. So that being a positive in my mind, I can also see how much of a negative it can be because it's taking up a lot of my time. A lot of time I could be spending with my family or my friends or my girlfriend, it's and I think for some folks, like I wish I could be there for my godsons and goddaughters more often. But then I'm like, I gotta make sure I have time to edit things, or I have to, create this new format or try to keep expanding on the dream and the goal. And yeah, so for me, I feel like that's been my issue, it's just been, do I have enough time to do everything I want to do and be there for everybody I want to be there for? So yeah, I don't know. I feel like depending on who you ask, you can some people might say I'm doing a good job of balancing everything, and other people might be like, nah, we need, like, the people around me probably might need me more, but I'm very like, I need to go change the world type stuff. And yeah, it's been hard to come to that realization and kind of just really be like, is that okay with me to feel that way, or like to really question those things? And I just hope more so that my friends, family understand versus, hoping that the rest of the world understands. But yeah, so great question. I'm definitely looking forward to the next guest who has to answer this. And
you're doing great either way.
Thank you. I appreciate that, Kathleen. Do you mind sharing what you had come up with? Because it is a very deep question.
I don't quite remember. I feel like it was in the realm of, I think it was something about just being such a giving person or a loving person that, it could be seen as a negative and a positive, just because just being so so much of a giver or an empath, like just it drains a lot of energy, and sometimes you don't give it to the right people or things. And it but on the other end of things, like I like to, with the life that I have, like you don't know, like, when your last day is. Like I just feel like because I love so much and I give so much, like in the end I feel like it's what I would have wanted to do. Like I don't regret, anything that I give in my energy to. So I think that would be one of the things, is just being an over giver or over lover, if that makes sense.
No, I
Loving
got you.
too much.
No, for sure. And I don't think a lot of people love enough. So I think you gotta, I would say, that's a good problem to have. Even though it is draining, please don't sacrifice your happiness and your self-care
Right.
for other folks. But yeah. And my last question for you, the question that ties everything together, is 100, 200, 300 years from now, your descendants are watching this video. What would you like them to know, or what would you like to tell them?
All right. Future descendants. I really hope that you live your life to the fullest, and I really hope that you continue to break down barriers and continue to heal through intergenerational trauma, and just really do things that will make you happy and fulfill you, and just always do good for the world and for the people. Do what you can, share your blessings, and I hope that my descendants get to connect and learn about my history, whether that's like my family in the Philippines, my family here in America and the US. I hope that you all have what you need to thrive and survive, but not only that, like I want you to be able to reach your dreams and do it all in love. So I really hope that years from now that's the case.
We got you. They hear you. And any last things you'd like to add before we head out of here? Like plug your music in. Where can people find your stuff, pretty much?
Yeah, thank you again so much for having me on this podcast. It's very introspective, so I really like that aspect of it. And thank you all to those who are listening or watching. My name is Kathleen Damian. You can find me on Spotify. My single La La Land is out with Izzle, and it's also on Apple Music as well. My stage name or artist name is Kat, K-A-T. And I have a couple of things coming up. I am hosting at Opal Social Club in downtown Mountain View this Friday, and we're having Agent Raphael as our special performance. So I'm looking forward to that. And next month in March, I will be performing on Sunday, March 12th for my friend's Vibes Market. And it is like a pop-up vintage market. It will be indoor in Newark, California. So I hope you can come through. I believe it's free admission, where we'll have a lot of other talented musicians and amazing small businesses that I hope you can support if you're in the area. You can find me on Will Kathleen on all social media handles as well. I really appreciate, again, the time that we had together today. And I hope that all your listeners have a wonderful day, have a blessed month, and just flourish.
Thank you for the vibes, Kathleen. I don't think all my guests thank the audience as well. So I want to thank you for sending out that good energy into the universe. I want to thank the folks out there. If you watching on YouTube, listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're checking this out, definitely appreciate your time to get to know us. So please remember to reach out, reach forward. As always, much love, and we'll catch you guys next time on 34 Questions. Peace. And
Thank
then
you.